Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan. Right now the time is approximately 12:33 p.m. and the current date is Tuesday, March 21st, 2017. Today is the day after the Vernal Equinox, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Before anything else, we have a special guest today, and her name is Corey. She is my first rescued stray. She's Corey the Calico, and I'm going to have my amazing audiovisual tech person pan over to her so you can see her on the bed. She's relaxing. She was getting ready for a nap. She looks so gorgeous. Look at her. Isn't she gorgeous? I love and adore her so much. She is actually, I'm gonna sell something in your fur. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll leave you alone. I love her. She is the most docile cat I've ever had. She's the most docile cat I've ever met. Isn't she so cute? Oh. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Aries and Vernal Equinox, and as you've noticed, I have a different pendant on. This was actually a gift. This is called Brachiated Jasper, capital B-R-E-C-C-I-A-T-E-D, Brachiated Jasper. And thank you, my audiovisual person, for the close-up and the zoom. You can go back to the regular now. You didn't zoom on this? You did. Okay, thank you. I know, we're gonna have to do the note card thing. Anyway, or the high-tech version of the tablet thing, whatever. Anyway, I remember when I first saw this pendant, I immediately thought, this looks like an Aries gemstone. Now, I'd never heard of brachiated jasper before. But look at the red that's in this. I mean, red is a traditional Aries color. So I'm like, it just felt Aries to me. And sure enough, when I began reading about it online, it said under astrological sign connection, it said Aries. I'm like, of course, why am I not surprised? So yeah, I change pendants depending upon the transiting sun signs. Now, some magical traditions refer to the vernal equinox as Ostara. Ostara is an interesting name because Ostara is also the name of a Germanic goddess of spring, of abundance, of fertility, and one of her animal familiars is the rabbit. I know, right? And of course, you know, this is the time of the year where I can't help but think about the very first class of my very second, as opposed to my very first goddess course, which was entitled Goddess to the Next Level. And it was exactly 3 days after the vernal equinox that the first class took place. So I had this made up goddess chant. It went something like Ostara, Ishtar, Easter, Isis, you know, something like that. Because, you know, I gotta admit, you know, keep in mind I'm a happily recovered Catholic, so there are some things that I just don't remember, even when I was a Catholic in name only. But, you know, recently I was reminded that Easter Sunday is always after the full moon, after the vernal equinox. And I'm like, wait a minute. Easter Sunday is always after the full moon, that's after the vernal equinox. That's a very pagan way to establish the date of a Christian holiday. You know, a witch came up with that. I know some of you Christians are like, ah! But really, think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know, Christianity? But then again, now I know what the phrase cultural appropriation means, so maybe it does make sense. Now, I mentioned Corey. Corey happens to be another name for Persephone. So, I was divinely guided, and I'm going to keep this video shorter than my usual, 20 minutes to half an hour. So I love this series of calendars. It's called We Moon, and this one is subtitled Gaia Rhythms for Women, and it's it's a feminist empowerment spelling of women. W-O-M-Y-N. And this year's theme is Stardust. So I want to read to you about the spring equinox in this particular book, and I just love the whole thing. Now keep in mind that this is created by and for women. I am a man born male, but I've benefited from using this, and I love reading the different articles and things. So, spring equinox. At spring equinox, we honor both the divine girl child and the return of Persephone. Persephone is a goddess, and one of her other names is Kore. Isn't that right, Kore? You're so cute. Okay. To have a holy day specifically for the sacred girl child is radical work. When we create healing rituals for girls, that healing goes out to the universe for all girls, past, present, future, and beyond. The divine girl child is the beginning of us, our life force, our vitality. Steady living. Psychological patterns are laid down within the first 2 years of life. I think I might need to pause and have a sip of tea. And yes, I have thought about soundproofing my bedroom. Might make certain activities easier. But like I said, that's another kind of video on another kind of tube. Okay. Psychological patterns are laid down within the first 2 years of life. During our divine girl child ritual, participants are given a ball of clay to represent the brain. They are invited with words, song, movement to look at ways their exuberance and creativity may have been harmed as a child, and how that harm may have been ingrained. They then smooth or reshape the ball of clay, symbolically creating new pathways. This healing activity can free up incredible amounts of creative energy and connect us with the incredible resilience of children. I must admit I'm reading this for the first time today, even though I've had this since either late November or early December of last year. And I have not gone through the entire book, so I'm really interested in what I'm reading. And I must admit, even though I'm not a divine girl child, even though I'm not, at least physically, a divine girl child, this is resonating with me. And it's giving me a reason to buy clay, because I don't buy clay for anything. From a spiritual and psychological standpoint, the transition from winter into spring is a restructuring time. We may feel a stirring of new life, new ideas, or a movement from inertia to growth. There are many ways to return from an underworld or inner world experience. It's not always a comfortable time. How can we help each other through this turbulent re-entry? We answer in ritual. We begin with purification, a sweat or a bath in a river, the ocean, to clear the dross of deep inner work. Then we move toward return. This may take the form of an actual journey through the woods or through guided meditation. We may enact a meeting with Hecate and a welcome by Demeter to the outer world, easing into spring, the time of restructuring. It is important to be gentle and caring with each other to assure full and complete reintegration. We have been to hell, as in the Norse goddess of the underworld, and back. Then we returned at all is often miracle enough. And this was written by Kim Duckett. I loved reading this. I loved sharing this with all of you. This was really lovely. I want to talk a little bit more about this. So, yeah, so, hold on. Okay, let me leave that there. Yeah, so, The other thing about the vernal equinox, it is that it is the beginning of the new astrological year. You know, in the Gregorian calendar, the first day of the year is January 1st. That is the first day of the Gregorian or calendar year. But in Western astrology, the first day of the new astrological year is always the date of the vernal equinox, which was yesterday, pardon me, Monday, March 20th, 2017, at least in this hemisphere. So this really is a time for new beginnings. This is a time to really look at what you want to achieve, especially between now and, let's say that the last day of Pisces in 2018 is, let's say March 19th. I'll leave it at that. So think about what you want to accomplish. Think about what fires are being lit under your feet, under your soul, in your brain, in your mind, in your heart. Now, I want to share something with you. And this is something that I learned from Doreen Virtue during her Goddesses and Angels workshop in Manhattan, NYC, back in June of 2008. You know, most of us know that Doreen Virtue spends a lot of her time in California and in Hawaii. And those places don't get a lot of inclement weather. Not like, you know, the East Coast. So it just so happened that on that particular day, she had said an angel prayer because it was raining a little bit. Now, mind you, I live in an area where I see and feel all four seasons, so it was a very light drizzle that day. It was not inches of rain. It wasn't torrential. It wasn't like sheets of rainfall. It was like little drops, you know. It was light enough that if you were super skinny, you could like walk through the raindrops. That's how light the rain was. It was consistent. It did last for several hours, but it wasn't like, you know, the heavens raining literal buckets of water. It wasn't like that at all. But she said an angel prayer asking the angels to help protect everybody when they were on their way. And she also shared something else, and I don't remember this exactly offhand, but it was somewhat similar to an angel prayer that I've been using for years. And the angel prayer is, I ask all the angelic realms that if anyone would receive divine blessings from my psychic services, that he or she be divinely guided to contact me now. In addition, I further ask the angels to provide all those individuals with everything they need to avail themselves of my psychic services, including but not limited to money, time, transportation, and childcare. And I want to extend that to those of you who have been divinely guided to have a reading with me and you haven't contacted me yet, because I want you to feel that you have that energy, that you have that ability. You know, I've never shared this in this way before. It's so wild. Wow. Yeah, I get these insights all the time in my videos. But I do want you to know that it's, you know, I mean, listen, I'm not a starving psychic, you know, so it's not like, oh my God, they have to have a reading with me, otherwise I'll starve. It's not like that. It's not like that. I'm not a starving psychic. But seriously, I do want to invite you to do that. If you have had the thought or the idea of availing yourself of my psychic service, or rather availing yourselves of my psychic services, and you haven't contacted me yet because of money, because of time, because of whatever, then I invite you to use that angel prayer for yourself. And you can modify it. You know, if let's say that you're more goddess oriented, Call upon your favorite goddesses of prosperity. Ask them to provide you with everything you need to avail yourselves of my psychic services. If you are more saint-oriented, you know, call upon your personal favorite saints and ask them to provide you with everything you need to avail yourselves of my psychic services. Now I'm going to have a drink of water. I've always been very goddess oriented, but I have learned to work with other celestial beings. And I've always, I don't know, it's a thing with me. Like, whenever I consume food, or am about to consume food, which I'll do in a little while, I like to have a cold beverage and a hot beverage. Not all the time. You know, this past Sunday I had the honor and pleasure of going to church with the Two Drink Minimum to see Reverend Yolanda and the Yolanda Lears and special guests at the Sidewalk Cafe on Avenue A. And I did not have a hot beverage. I had ginger ale, I had water, and I had a mimosa. I started with a mimosa. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to indulge in a mimosa for a change. You know? I can't stop looking at my cat. And I'm happy, and you know, it's funny because most of you know my cats are not, you know, regular guest stars in my videos. So with that being said, I do highly recommend that you use that angel prayer and that you schedule your appointments with me as soon as celestially possible, because this is the time of the year when I really start to get busy. When I began leading group prosperity classes on a regular basis, my downtime in January and February went away. I have no downtime anymore. So, you know, there was a time when people could easily schedule a reading with me at any time in January, February, and they know that they would have that opportunity to have the reading or whatever session with me whenever they wanted. Those gone, long gone. Those days are long gone. But this is when I start to really get busy. And then September through December, it's a miracle if you get an appointment at all. So beat the rush. And this is actually one of 2 videos that I'll be uploading today or tomorrow. This was actually an incidental video because I made a promise to one of my other long-time faithful YouTube channel subscribers that I would do a series of videos on the Sabbats, or the 8 holy days of the Witch's Wheel of the Year. And there goes Corey. Oh well, she was in the video for a while. And I never kept that promise. And I really need to do that because, you know what, there's another series of videos coming up, as y'all know. And yeah, so anyway, so thank you, YouTube. It was a pleasure to spend this time with you. I'm acting like I'm going away, which is so funny because we're going to do another video in like less than 5 minutes. But anyway, I do thank you for honoring who I am and what I do, and I thank you for sharing this time with me. Again, I'm saying goodbye, but I'm not really saying goodbye. I'll see you in the next video. Many blessings.